John Jay and the Case of Brown vs. Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas, by Gisell and Bianca Rivera. John Jay was born in New York City on December 12, 1745. John was the son of Peter Jay, who was a wealthy trader and merchant, and John's mother was Mary Van Cortlandt. He had 10 siblings, 7 of whom survived childhood. John Jay was very intelligent as a child. He began boarding school at the age of 8, and growing up as a child, he had manned private home tutors. He attended King's College in New York, which is now known as Columbia University, where he met influential friends. He later became a lawyer and joined the New York Committee of Correspondence in 1774 and established his own practice. In 1789, George Washington appointed Jay as the Supreme Court's first Chief Justice, a role he held until 1795. Jay took a break from judicial duties in 1794 when he went to Great Britain in order to address continuous issues such as exports, seizures, and occupation. The resulting Jay Treaty sparked protests because it was considered too favorable for the British. However, the treaty averted a war that the United States was then ill-equipped to fight. Although the court reached several notable decisions under his leadership, it was again as a diplomat that he exerted his greatest influence. Chisholm versus Georgia is the most famous and the most important of the U.S. Supreme Court's 18th century decisions. The court's ruling arose out of the sale of supplies during the Revolutionary War, which took place from 1775 to 1783, made on credit to the state of Georgia by a South Carolina merchant. This then led to the 11th Amendment. John Jay was one of the 7 key political leaders and statesmen who became a founding father of the United States of America. John Jay did not sign the Declaration of Independence. He was considered a founding father due to his role in framing the Constitution. He served in the Continental Congress, was a diplomat, wrote some of the Federalist Papers, and became the first Chief Justice of the United States. He died in Bedford, New York on May 17, 1829, at the age of 83.
The Brown vs. Board of Education case began in Topeka, Kansas, when Oliver Brown and a group of 13 other parents sued the Topeka, Kansas School Board on behalf of their 20 children. Oliver Brown's daughter, Linda, had to walk a mile to and from school every day to attend her school of primarily African American students. Meanwhile, she lived just down the street from an all-white student school. Linda was denied the right to attend the school due to the law of segregation. A panel of 3 district judges ruled for the school board, concluding that facilities for African American students are equal to those of white American students. They then realized the effects segregation had on non-white children. Segregation between the schools ultimately resulted in inequitable distribution of resources for the education system of African American students. This overturned the 14th Amendment, established during the Plessy v. Ferguson case of 1896, which stated separate but equal facilities. This was sent to the Supreme Court under Chief Justice Earl Warren on May 17, 1954, as the Brown v. Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas.
Chief Justice Earl Warren, who was born in 1891, secured an unanimous decision in Brown v. Board of Education, outlawing segregation in public schools and striking down the separate but equal doctrine.
Plaintiffs were parents of African American students, and they argued that their children felt inferior to their white peers. Supreme Court found that there was no such thing as separate but equal, but separation created unacceptable inequality. Supreme Court declared separate public schools for black and white students unconstitutional. This began the slow but sure end to segregation.
In 1988, the nonprofit Brown Foundation for Educational Equity, Excellence, and Research was founded by Topeka community members to honor Oliver Brown and to preserve the legacy of the civil rights movement.